Evening, boys and girls. For all of those who didn't think it was me that did the little theme tune a few weeks ago. In a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man with a dusty black coat and the red right hand. Boom, boom, boom. So here we are. We're right at the end of the line. Or should I say, we're at the beginning. Talk about movie bait, boys and girls. How many movies are we going to get out of this for? What, 1, 2, 3, 4? Who knows? This was an enjoyable episode, it was. I enjoyed it. It was your typical Peaky Blinders twist ending. There are a couple of issues with it though. I mean, ding dong, the little Tash twirler Michael is dead. I'm sure we can all enjoy that. And they even gave him the Mo Green special. If anyone doesn't get that reference, watch The Godfather. It's one of the greatest films ever made. And there was references to The Godfather throughout. The whole ending of The Godfather, if you don't know, is the killing of the 5 families. And essentially what this episode was a extended version of that scene over an hour and a half period. I'm not saying it wasn't good. It was. You know, Francis Ford Coppola's one of the best directors to ever live. So what did they say? Mimicry is the best sort of flattery. I mean, the way I look at it, it's more like looking over at someone's homework and saying, "Psst, can I copy yours, please? It looks better." And you know, if you're gonna try and copy something, copy an all-time classic, by all means. As I said, I've enjoyed this episode as a standalone episode of its own, and essentially baiting you in to wait for the movie that's probably coming in 2-3 years. It has already been confirmed. I'm just not sure on what the dates are. You know, it did its job, and it was entertaining, and it was flashy, and it was gorgeously developed from a cinematic point of view. But that's never been my complaint with this series. Well, not the series overall, I think it's been great. But this particular season, my issue has always been style over substance. The style is amazing. You've got some of the best actors you could possibly want. The material they've been given though, and the overall story arc, I take issue with though. Now let me start as to why I've got issues with it. They've not used the best of their cast. Some of the best scenes tonight were between Paul Anderson and Kieran Murphy. I've been saying this for weeks. You wasted such an opportunity with the whole Arthur's a drug addict storyline that really went nowhere because he recovered miraculously and you know, there was some form of redemption, but it all seemed a bit magic, and you know, you can get off heroin that easy. You know, I'm sure that's exactly how it happens. You just magically wake up one day and think, no, not for me anymore. No, that's really not how it works, and it should have been. If you were going to go down that road, it should have been done with more care, more development, more time. But that's been the story of this whole series. It's not that The writing is bad, but the writing is bad because it is rushed. I'm going to use another film reference here for another film that you should all watch. It's called Whiplash, starring Miles Turner and J.K. Simmons. And there's a line that keeps running through it. Are you dragging or are you rushing? And I think it pretty much sums up this whole experience. If you were to take, not the series as a whole, because it's been fantastic, but if you were to take this one season, this collection of 6 episodes, it's a question that needs to be asked. Are you dragging or are you rushing? Now, in a lot of these episodes, they've been dragging. There's been plot points developed and then dropped. It's like, where the hell was Stephen Graham's character? He was in there for a few scenes and it seemed to be pretty vital to Arthur's story and then dropped. You know, the whole relationship between Lizzie and Tommy. I know you're slightly hampered by the fact that there's very little chemistry between Kieran and I believe it's Sophie Rundle. I may have got it the wrong way round. You are sort of hamstrung by that, but the writing's not helped it either. I understand where they've been going with it. They've obviously wanted to show Tommy pushing her away at all points because he believes he doesn't deserve her and he's dying. But this was always a complex relationship, a relationship of convenience for them. Tommy needed a mother for his children. His love of his life died in season 3 or 4. I think it was, with Grace. Everyone knows this is part of the law. But what this series needed was time. And if the BBC wasn't going to give it, or if the creators weren't going to do it, if you weren't going to give this sort of 10 episodes as a minimum, I think, you were going to struggle. Hi Tom Hawkins. Holy hell, I've just finished it and I'm so shocked. Yeah, the execution was really good. And, thanks for reaching out. I think the execution was good. But if you know some sort of cinema history, it becomes slightly more difficult to see as unique. Unfortunately, I know some of the tropes, so sometimes it doesn't hit me as much as it should. But I'm really glad you enjoyed it, and if you've got any other thoughts, please, bring them through, and I'll happily discuss them with you. But overall, what I was saying, there was issues in terms of using the cast, using the time, using the script, and building a proper story. Hi J-Dog Prime. I've watched it from the beginning when it was first commissioned, probably about 7-8 years ago now. And I should probably do a full series review, especially with the movie coming and everything else and how it all fits in with the law. When I talk about sort of critiques of it for this, I'm talking essentially about these 6 episodes and how they fit together. The only thing I wanted was more of it, and a lot of it for storytelling purposes, because some things weren't developed. Like I say, the best stuff was sort of Arthur and Tommy, and that wasn't really developed. There are some standout antagonists with you know, uh, this is when my mind goes blank. With Mosley, with Oswald Mosley, and with the American contingent, and Anna Taylor-Joy as Michael's wife, there were some really nice elements. They just weren't fully there for me. The Oswald Mosley one started last series, obviously, and that got some real good time. And obviously that's where they're going. I think they're going into a full sort of World War Two. If I was them, that's where I'd be going. I'd be looking at sort of the Second World War and how that affects them. You know, would Tommy serve again, considering what he went through in the First World War and everything, and how that affected all the people in it? That's certainly something I'd want to see in the film. But Oswald Mosley essentially died of old age, so it's not. I don't think it's going to be a flat revenge story. I think they're going to have to put some clear nuance on it, and look at how the Second World War and changing attitudes affected the world around them, and that would be the way I'd tell that story. Other things that I've sort of have irked me slightly. Where did the thing with Finn come from? The problem is, if you're going to do twist reveals like that, it has to come. I get it, it was a shocking bit, and if you're going to take that episode on its own, that is a shock. That is something to twist your audience. My issue with it is when you're talking about motivations, we've not seen Finn over the course of this, apart from probably the last 2 episodes, and we've not really seen his motivations for betraying Tommy, unless it was for Michael, and Michael had somehow gotten to Finn. But again, I don't think it was fully developed and fully explained. So when you're talking about a character's motivation and how a plot moves forward, it's important for us as an audience to relate to those choices, and I think it needed at least some more foreshadowing and some more sort of breadcrumbs for us to understand why Finn was unhappy, why he'd suddenly decided to take up against Tommy. And it's just these little pieces that I think they could have developed further to make it a fuller story. I mean, I don't want to be too negative, because it was a good episode. It was well constructed. I think I'm looking at it as a piece of work, as a piece of 6. And like I said, I think there's just elements that I would have wanted to delve deeper into to understand the mechanics and the drivers between the characters. I mean, I can't argue that it's not gorgeous. The gunfight scene where the IRA operatives died, beautifully shot. The way that they used light and smoke and the reference to the mustard gas and all that sort of stuff, and how it affected those who fought in the First World War, beautifully done. I actually really liked that scene as a bit of action, a bit of development for Arthur and sort of the remaining Peaky Blinders who served. I just wanted more of it. I wanted to see some of this as a conjoined piece of work, and this is the thing. We've had. Oh, what happened with Michael? He got shot in the eye, otherwise known as a Mo Green special. Mosley, the bit at the end, basically, where Tommy was questioning the doctor, that's from a real life event in Oswald Mosley's life. He got married in Berlin in about 1937 in front of Adolf Hitler. So that bit's true. So at that stage in his life, Oswald's in Germany, taking instruction from Hitler as regards how to establish fascism in the UK, and that's a genuine historical event. At some stage, Oswald Mosley was expected to be Prime Minister, especially when Chamberlain looked weak, as you know, Germany started marching towards Poland, and Chamberlain was umming and ahhing about whether they should be involved. Oswald was in Germany taking instructions, and he was very popular at the time. People sort of forget this because we won the war and because of Churchill and everything else. It's sort of a forgotten thing, but in historical terms, he would have been in Germany with the thoughts of coming back after his wedding to establish. There was nothing on Gina and Jack. Again, I think that's something that will probably be developed in the movie. Michael, like I said, he died. He got shot in the eye. Hi, Garaj Achara. I'm probably butchering that name. I'm really, really sorry. Yeah, the ending was actually really nicely done. It was clearly baiting for the movie that is coming. That's pretty much confirmed. Right, J-Dog Prime. The ending was essentially... go on. Tommy killed Michael, and then he was going off to die. He'd been told by the doctors that he'd got this tumorosis in his brain and it was terminal. So he'd taken himself off, said goodbye to the family, and was going off to die. He then saw a vision of Ruby as he was hallucinating or having a sort of vision, and she said that he wasn't sick and that he had things to do. And she told him to look in a fire that he'd made. Now, as he went over to this fire, he saw a photo of Oswald's wedding in Berlin. And with Oswald was his wife and the doctor that Tommy had seen and the second doctor that he'd been recommended by the first. And then he realised that Oswald had tried to get the doctor who went to his wedding to convince Tommy that he was dying. So in the end, Tommy came back and threatened to kill the doctor for giving him the false information. And that's where we sort of ended it. With Tommy very much alive and wanting to move forward. Now that he knows he's not terminally ill. And essentially what they're baiting at is that they'll be looking at chasing down Hitler and Oswald and his wife and potentially Uncle Jack and Gina. Although, again, Uncle Jack and Gina probably needed a bit more development. The only thing we really saw was some of the henchmen that Michael had getting blown up when Tommy had the bomb switched between the cars to make sure that he survived. I hope I've cleared everything up with that one. But if you've got any more questions, chuck them at me. The end... I can always say this with Peaky Blinders. The way it is shot and the way it is choreographed and everything else is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to watch. The cinematography, the way that they use light and music and atmosphere to create this brilliant sort of mystique is, it's a triumph, and it's something that Peaky Blinders does really well. And it will translate when it gets a bigger budget to go to the big screen. It just will. In terms of where the family is, I think we're probably looking at Duke being a fairly heavy protagonist, sort of going forward, maybe taking the reins from Arthur if he looks at settling down. You'd be looking at his son Charlie. It depends on how they do the time jump. I'd probably say they'd do it around 1942, which would mean his younger son probably won't get much development. But, it depends on where they want to pick it. But the episode tonight was really, really good. I think it just... Hi, Aaron. Who are you? What happened with Thin? It was sort of left a little bit ambiguous. Duke looked like he was shooting him dead, and he wasn't sort of seen, and there was no body. So, again, it's a little bit of bait. What's going to happen with Finn? Was he shot? Was he killed? Is he still in the family? Was this sort of Tommy sending a message, never cross the family again? Which it could absolutely be. If we go into Finn, the issue I have with it is it just came out a little bit out of nowhere. I'd have wanted to see him being disgruntled and his reasons for being disgruntled a little bit more. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's probably my only criticism with that bit. It seemed just a swerve for a swerve. I want to see Ada. I don't know if you guys agree. I want to see Ada take a bigger role in the film. If that's the way they're going, go with the times a little bit. The feminist movement was starting to get into gear in the Second World War. With the men being away at war, they had a far larger role going forward. So to see Ada take a larger role in the Shelby Company Limited going forward would be something that I think is worth a look with the acting chops of the actress that plays her. I'm speculating here, guys, about what's going on going forward. I do know that there's been a movie that's been confirmed, and I think the rumours about Keira Murphy getting the James Bond role might die down a little bit, or they might use it to sort of give more to this. But I think it's going to be a Second World War story. The whole series has been about empire building, what a man's legacy is. There was a telling bit of dialogue sort of early on between Arthur and Tommy, where they talked about he sees himself as a provider and nothing else. All he is money to his family. And to be honest, it's a sad reflection of what men of that period thought themselves. And sometimes men in general. They are more than the sum of their ability to earn and to provide. They are loved ones, they are family members, and I think that's Paul Anderson's acting in that part where he was trying to explain to Michael that to Tommy that you are more than these things was really powerfully done, because he couldn't articulate the way he was feeling. He was getting frustrated and, really overwhelmed at the thought of losing his brother. And the whole series, if you take it from its very beginning, is obviously the brothers came back from the war and wanted to build something for themselves, and Tommy did. He built an empire, a business empire to begin with, and then he became a political heavyweight and an influence. And I think that the shot towards the end of blowing the family home up was really good sort of iconography for where they were sort of planning this series to go. He built all this. This should have been his crowning achievement. The company, the house, all the material things. And in the end, what he wanted was a legacy to help people, but also to destroy what he gained, give to his family what he wanted, but overall go back to his beginning, his roots. He feels he's got a more... There's a bigger role for him. And again, Ruby says it towards the end. There's more for you to do, Daddy. There's more for you to bring. And I think a lot of that is, ideological. That, he's going to play a part in bringing down Nazi Germany. I don't think it's going to be a let's kill Hitler sort of thing. Leave that to Tarantino. But I think it's going to be a very political film and very sharp, and hopefully pretty action-packed, but it should be done with the characters having an influence on events rather than them being directly taking on Nazi Germany and sort of being part of the overall sort of war effort in a direct way. I don't think that's where this series' power lies. It lies in being in the background, the fact that it's a criminal organisation with a legitimate front. And in the last episode, Tommy was talking to Duke about the light and shade of his own business, but that's something about the family overall. There is this legitimate business. There is a legitimate MP, Tommy Shelby, and a metalworks and a coal refinery and a pub. There are these legitimate things that he would like his youngest son to take over, but then his eldest would be the shade, and a bit more to Tommy's actual personality. It's another reference to The Godfather. In Godfather 1, Don Vito saw Sonny as the future of the illegitimate mafia business, while Michael became a politician. He always said Senator Corleone, President Corleone. He wanted a legitimate side for his family. And maybe that's something they explore in the movie as well, or several movies. It depends how much they make. I'm trying to think of other things that they've sort of gone at this series to tie it all together. It's been a cat and mouse game, and I think in the end they will have to kill off Tommy. He can't stay around forever. But I wonder whether they're going to use any more of these sort of Godfather film references to build the story. the jealousy between the brothers and their children and how the family works could be an interesting way to go. I really hope they bring Anya Taylor-Joy back as Gina, because her charisma just oozes off the screen, and the guys that play the Lady Diana and Oswald Mosley, brilliant actors who have done this great bit of character work and really make you believe that they have encapsulated these characters. So I really hope that they go into it knowing who their best people are and building a script around them. I teach. That's an interesting one, to be honest. That I think there could be all sorts that they try, in terms of actors returning, and because when you've got an upped budget like that, it's the sky's the limit in terms of the actors that you bring in. I would want to see Alfie, Tom Hardy, take a role in it, and a real good supporting role. You could probably ring up any sort of top quality British actor and say, would you like to join this? We're gonna start with one film, but we probably have a vision for going in for 3. Let's get you in now and really sort of play this up and make it something that can be developed and sold overseas. Because I think they've certainly got ambitions with it. I don't know what the numbers are like in BBC America, but it's something that I think very easily translates to an American audience. That's why they've had the American mob involved. It's almost a precursor to get them interested. Looking at America's role in the Second World War would obviously be another interesting tidbit that they could go for. So there's certainly all sorts of different aspects that it can go through. What do you guys think about sort of Tommy and Arthur? Where do you see their roles being in the movie? Do you think the dynamic will change, or do you think they need a little more time like I do? I think Paul Anderson needs as much time with Kieran Murphy as physically possible, because they bounce off each other so well. And again, if you get them a decent antagonist, I think you could get some real top name talent playing antagonists for at least one movie, if not 2 or 3. I'd want to know who they're going to cast as Adolf and sort of Goebbels. And it depends how much you want to go down the Second World War route, but I would lean heavily into it. When was the last time that there was a real compelling war movie told over recent years? And I'm not talking Saving Private Ryan or anything like that, but an actual real Second World War story that was compelling and not, something like Tarantino did, which I liked, but it's not historical. It doesn't have the emotional punch because Tarantino rewrote history. But I think because everyone in this fan base is so invested in these characters and how they're up against these impossible odds, I think it really gives it a chance as a movie, or even a franchise of movies. It's clear that a lot of the cast want to move on with their careers. I don't mean leaving the roles, I mean if they're going to stay in the roles, they want bigger exposure. They want movies, they want... It sounds daft because it's a completely different sort of thing, but they sort of want what Downton Abbey's had, where it was so popular as a series that it spawned a few movies and got a few good paydays for the cast and crew. And obviously for Kieran Murphy, someone who's sort of played character roles for most of his movie career, I think this is his shot at being a leading man. He's about that age. This is where the rumours about James Bond come from. He's about the right age to play Bond, apart from the fact that he's Irish. But, you know, we've had an Australian play Bond, so I don't think that really matters. But he certainly has the swagger. I just think he would be better suited as a Bond villain, not actually Bond, because he's got a depth to him and a way of doing far more with his body than a typical sort of James Bond action hero. I certainly won't want to see him do a rehash of Daniel Craig. But let's see where it goes. I mean, do you guys have any sort of thoughts about where you'd want the plot to go, sort of moving forward? Would you want to see the sort of film that I've described, this sort of World War II epic, or would you want them to go down a different direction, do a complete time jump, and be in a different era, sort of 60s, 50s, with much older protagonists and passing the baton on to their children? I think it's probably a little bit too early for that, but it's certainly something that they could explore. I'm thinking of ways for me to sort of sum this up. If you guys want me to do a full sort of season 1 to season 6 review, and for me to go through every season and look at it as a piece of work, I'm completely happy to do that. You know, if you just give me some inkling in the comments, you know, like, share, subscribe, just so I know that this is the sort of content that you'd want me to be going on forward with. My final thoughts is this was a good episode that needed more of this and less of some of the sort of dragging episodes that we've had. There needed to be more connection towards the supporting cast. But overall, I'm really happy with how it ended, because it showed you what Peaky Blinders can be at its best. And we saw that. We saw more of the characters and more of the things that we love about the show. And I also want to sort of look at what we're going to be doing going forward now that Peaky Blinders has obviously ended. This was just one series that I wanted to start. I'm going to be looking at doing other stuff, other series that are coming out through streaming services and all sorts of different bits and pieces, and films that I enjoy and films that you guys enjoy that you'd like me to look at. Or, you know, I really want this to be a thing for us, a time for us to talk, and for me to make content that makes you guys happy. But what I'm looking at is possibly doing Disney Plus's Moon Knight and Disney Plus's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obviously two different things and from two major franchises It would be a similar format to this, sort of breaking down the good, bad, the overall narrative, and what I think of how it's been pieced together as a piece of art or a piece of entertainment for us. And sort of, I could even go into the films that support it and all that sort of thing. To be honest, I will keep coming up with different ideas for doing stuff. But if you guys have a direction of travel which you'd like to go down, the best way to do that is to contact me either through here, liking, sharing, subscribing, so I see where the traction comes from, or you can message me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be monitoring everything, and I'm going to be listening to you guys and what you want. So I think that's all the questions for tonight. I don't think I've missed anyone, but what I do want to say to everyone before I sort of go tonight is a massive thank you. We're a really small channel right now. Obviously, it's just me at the moment, but I've seen we've grown by 3 subscribers this week, and I just want to say thank you, and even to all the guys that have chatted tonight. A lot of you guys are chatting for the first time, and I've really enjoyed being able to answer your questions and go through it together. So again, thanks for that. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to go through things with you. And let's keep it going forward. I want the Wobbly Army to keep growing, and I want to be here for you guys. So yeah, thanks for joining me tonight. I'm really touched, and I hope to see you on the next bit of content that we do. Like I said, I could start doing Moon Knight this week if that's something you guys are interested in. I may do that this week anyway, just to start something new and give us something else to go at. But other than that, guys, thank you ever so much. I really, really do appreciate your support. It makes making content so much easier to know that I'm really intriguing people with what's happening. So yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to you guys, and wobbly geek out for the night. Don't forget to twirl your tash if you're plotting something evil like Michael. Check under your cars for car bombs. It happens in Small Heath, it happens in Godfather. Just be really careful out there. And the train has officially reached its intermediary station until we go on to Movieville. Choo choo. All terminating at Small Heath. And by order of the Peaky Blinders, Wobbly Geek out. Holy shit.